Good morning everyone, it is handheld PC time, again. Not long ago I received the 2021 model of the GPD Win Max and I've done some stress testing on PC games. In this video I will be going over games that were right at the limit of what the Win 3 from earlier in the year could do. But before that, let's go into the specs. I got the GPD Win Max's Ryzen model. To be more specific, it's got a Ryzen 7 4800U processor containing 16 CPUs. It's also got 16 gigs of RAM and AMD Radeon graphics. Because I know someone is going to ask, for these tests I used the normal TDP options that offer 20 watts. But enough about that, let's get started. First up is Cyberpunk 2077. On the GPD Win 3, I was only able to get it up to around 25 FPS or so on lower settings. We don't see much improvement here, bringing that 25 low up to 28 and jumping between that and 35. It is definitely playable as it was before, but very little is different. Fallout 76 was another game that ran decently well on the Win 3 but was never able to fully stay above 30 FPS. Thankfully, low settings can keep it miles above, with a low of 39 going up to 55 pretty consistently. Then we get to Grand Theft Auto 5, which was a little weird. The 2020 Win Max ran this around 40 FPS, while the Win 3 only managed around 30. But we are back on the high frame rate with the Ryzen. GTA 5 on low settings jumped around but had a low of 45 and regularly jumped up to 74. Then we have what I call the big one, Horizon Zero Dawn. This was pretty much the ceiling of performance for the Win 3. I was able to get it above 30 FPS on that handheld, but it was very situational. Not only did you have to bring it down to bare bones resolution scale, but it would start the game off in the 20s and you'd have to play the game for a while before the unit would adjust and get it to that better frame rate. You don't have to do that situational nonsense here. We still need low settings and resolution scale around 70%, but it will stay above 30 to 40 FPS the entire time. Technically, you can make the performance better by bringing the resolution scale down even more, but 70% is my line of where it still looks pretty good and will run smooth. Another weird one is Kingdom Hearts. My initial installation of these on the Win 3 caused some weird slowdown. Thankfully, the Ryzen plays almost all of them perfectly. The HD collections run at a constant 60 FPS, including Dream Drop distance, something that ran pretty poor on the previous units. The only exception to this is 0.2 of fragmentary passage. Oddly, this one isn't quite as high as the Win 3, ranging from 27 FPS up to 50. Moving on to Kingdom Hearts 3, things just keep getting better. It can be played for a smooth 35 to 50 FPS without messing with the resolution scaling. Just put it on low settings and it will play smooth and look good. But where there are ups, there are also downs. Let's talk about the medium. I really want this to play well because I would love to play this on the go. On the Win 3, it ran at a pitiful 10 to 20 FPS, and it still does on the Ryzen. It averages around 11 to 17 once you get past the prologue, no matter what resolution or scaling you decide to use. Though Need for Speed Heat does make things a little better. This one ran in the 20s on the Win 3, and you can get a lot better here. In both races and the open world, putting it on low settings with resolution scaling down to 80%, Need for Speed Heat will stay between 32 and 47 FPS. The Outer Worlds is up next. It ran well on the Win 3, but was another case where it would still jump down into the 20s from time to time. On the Ryzen, low settings gives us a range of 35 to 40 FPS, with lows nowhere near going under 30. Finally, we have two Resident Evil titles. First up is Biohazard 7, something I couldn't even get to boot up on the Win 3 due to trying its Xbox Microsoft Store version. I have it on Steam now and it runs beautifully. On medium and low settings, it will constantly run at 60 FPS, and just FYI, it also runs that smooth back on the 2020 Win Max. In Resident Evil 8, or Village, this game has come so far since its initial launch. The PC version was optimized so badly it was impossible to keep it looking good and have a decent frame rate at the same time. But now, it is wonderful. You do have to keep it in windowed mode to keep it from crashing when loading save files, but putting it at low settings and low FX quality, it plays at a beautiful 60 FPS. Well, that's all I have for you right now. I'm not going to be doing hundreds of game tests like I did for the Win 3, but you will definitely get a bit more coverage of the unit plus a review. Also, feel free to make requests in the comments if you want me to tell you how well my unit runs a game, assuming I have it. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.